Hello, this is a presentation for Global Mobility Program for ZAMAME Shipping Company, presented by Inana Muzumara. Country is Zambia, and the course is MGT6220, Managing the Global Workforce for Amberton University. The purpose of this is to explain the different types of global assignments. The main focus will be on the traditional long-term expatriation. And we also clearly explain the objectives of moving the manager to Zambia for ZAMAME shipping. We'll also explain the operations of the company. We will deal with other countries' government regulations, while the manager focuses on the strategic plan of the main company. The project will also focus on preparations made for the expatriate and his family to have a smooth transition into the new country. The greatest limitation of this research is the lack of publicly available information on the company. They do not publish a lot of their information. I have also never been an expatriate, and all the information utilized is secondary data from different text and publications. Here's a little background of ZAMAME. It's a small shipping company which was established in 2009 and is headquartered in the Washington, D.C. area. They have a regional office in Lusaka, Zambia. ZAMAME's original plan and focus was shipping of goods between the United States of America and Zambia. They have now started shipping to some of Zambia's neighbors in the last few years, and ZAMAME employs about 70 people. Here's a little history of their services. Between 2009 and 2011, ZAMAME only shipped 3 times to Lusaka, Zambia. That's 3 times a year, and that was only from the East Coast. By 2012, they increased their shipments to 6 a year, and they went from the East Coast, the Southeast, and the Midwest. In 2015, they started to spread out from Zambia into Malawi, and here in America, they started collecting goods from all the 48 states. Well, of course, apart from Hawaii and Alaska. In 2009, they are now opening new offices in 5 other African countries that are around Zambia. In the last few years, they've started spreading out to Malawi, Botswana, Zimbabwe, Tanzania, and Namibia. On a small scale, they do provide air services from the United States to Malawi and Zambia only. The company was started by Mr. and Mrs. Kawa, who happen to be part of the leadership, and Mr. Peter Kawa serves as the Chief Executive Officer, and he's a holder of a master's degree in business administration. Mrs. Mary Kawa is the head of operations. She also is a holder of a master's degree in business administration. Miss Ann Ken is the Chief Financial Officer. Mr. John Smith is the Sales and Operations Manager who is going overseas. Mr. Mark Jordan is the Transport and Logistics Manager, and Mr. Jonathan Melu is their IT Director. The 4 other members of staff, members of the leadership, are degree holders as well. Here are the different types of global assignments. Short-term assignments. The short term assignments usually last for 3 months to a year. They are usually for smaller projects or really short term assignments, and families are not relocated. Employees' benefits are handled at headquarters. So the employee will just go back and forth, go for a few days or a few weeks, and then return back to base. And flexpatriates is a term that is used for staff that's based at the main office but travel extensively. And sometimes they have substantial international responsibility, which they work on virtually. Commuter assignments. Usually, people who are referred to as commuters are people who travel from state to state or from country to country throughout the week, and then they go back to their bases over the weekend to their families. So they work out of town or out of state Monday through Friday and head back home for the weekends. And the traditional long-term assignment, which is the one we are focusing on today, is usually longer. This lasts from 3 to 5 years or longer, and sometimes a little bit less than that. But these are much longer periods than the other types of assignments. They go in to fill in the skill gaps. They also go in for organizational and managerial development for the subsidiary companies. They go to pass knowledge from the headquarters to the subsidiaries. This is to ensure that the subsidiaries are operating in ways that are acceptable and expected of the main office in the Washington, D.C. area. And in the past, ZAMAME has had short-term assignments. They've gone back and forth to set up their office in Zambia, and now that they are going to set up in other countries, they've decided to set base for an expatriate in Lusaka so that he can help handle the opening up of other offices in the other countries. So he will travel back and forth to the other countries, but his main base will be in Lusaka, Zambia. And they've signed up for a 5-year period to start with. And the main objectives of moving the manager to Zambia, I've already alluded to some of those, is to transfer knowledge and train the local management team with the main office's strategic plan. They're also tapping into the growth in the African markets so they can grow their company. They're establishing and training management teams in the new markets and to learn the culture in order to understand how things are done in that part of the world so that they can operate better as an organization. He's also there to get acquainted with their culture in their partner's world in order to understand how they work. Operations at ZAMAME. They initially started shipping from the East Coast only. They have since grown to all the 48 states. In the last few years, they've started spreading to Zambia's neighbors like Malawi, Botswana, Zimbabwe, Tanzania, and Namibia. And on a small scale, they also provide air services to Malawi and Zambia only. There are government rules and regulations in every country. And Mr. Smith is expected to abide by the rules of the country where he will operate while he follows the strategic plan of the organization. The organization expects him to abide by the rules. When he arrives in Zambia, he will go to the Ministry of Home Affairs where the processing of his work permit will be processed. And that takes about 2 weeks. And arrangements are made in Zambia when people are moving in to live there. They're given a guide who takes them around to the different places for the first few weeks while they're getting to know their way around. So the guides are background checked and everything, and they come through the Ministry of Home Affairs. So he will have one to take him around to get him through the process of getting his work permit and to show him around until Mr. Smith and his family feel comfortable enough to be on their own once they know the streets and everything. There's also what is known as protectionism. It's an economic policy of restricting imports from other countries through tariffs and import quotas. Mr. Smith would have to work with the Zambia Revenue Authority to take care of that part of the organization. Of course, some of it has already started since they've been operating in Zambia for a little while. But now that they want to venture into other countries, they will need a special permit to do that part of the business. So they will have to get in touch with Zambia Revenue Authority and get that registered. And when he crosses over to the other countries, he will have to follow their regulations and deal with their revenue authorities in those countries. He has to register and do that whole process so that the organization is in compliance. There are also barriers to entry that a lot of countries have. Zambia has them too. And those are taxes that foreign nationals have to pay, which the locals do not. Here we'll talk about the preparations of expatriation. This is a very important aspect of the whole process. If this preparation is not handled very well, it leads to some serious repercussions. The expatriate and his family need pre-departure training to give them an idea of how life is in Zambia. They have to be taught about how Zambians operate or how they handle business operations. They need a lifestyle and security training. They need to mentally prepare to be away from their families. The excitement will die down and real life sets in. They need to be made aware of that. And culture adjustment and homesickness are some of the other stresses that they will have to deal with. Culture shock and how best to handle it need to be part of that training as well. As he works on the vision of ZAMAME to grow their air services to other countries and to plan to ship more frequently than every 6 weeks than they've been doing in the past, they would like to improve that to every other week. The family has to feel comfortable for this vision to be a success. Working in Zambia, there are pros and cons, just like every other place in the world. But here are the cons, some of the cons. Zambian people are very friendly, and working with them would not be a challenge at all. They work hard and love to have guests. They want to make their guests feel comfortable and welcome. The official language is English, so they will not have to deal with a language barrier. Kids are taught in English, so that will be a plus for the Smith kids. They will enjoy having a worker in their home to do their chores for them for a couple hundreds of dollars a month. which is a luxury for most people here in the United States because of how expensive it is. But over there, it's not that expensive, and they will be able to afford that. So that's a luxury that they will enjoy. And lifestyle in the city is as good as anywhere, like where they are coming from, so they will not miss a thing. There's all kinds of restaurants, all kinds of hotels, all kinds of luxuries are there, so they will not miss that. They will have freedom to worship as they please because there are no restrictions with that. They will also enjoy the beautiful weather and the beautiful cultural events and lots of activities for leisure, especially on the weekends and holidays. Here are a few cons that he might encounter. He would have to adjust to driving on the other side of the road. He'll have to adjust to using kwaches from dollars. And being away from close family is difficult. Lack of preparation, relocation, and culture novelty induce quite some stress for partners. So if his wife is not well prepared, then that will be part of the cons. It is very stressful, and it would not be very good for the person that's working in that country. A lot of partners see their employment and status change and lose their career because of a move, which causes disturbance within the home and lowers the interactional adjustment. Partners feel lost in a sense that they do not have an outside professional identity or a specific clarification of their family identity. This is where, like, if a spouse was working here in the United States and they go there and become a spouse of an expatriate, and they have to just stay at home and have no income of their own, it brings stress. It does bring stress, and that is something that has to be dealt with carefully in order for the mission to succeed. There's another point I put lower here, which would go either way. It could be a pro and it could be a con. It has good and bad. Zambians are very relaxed people. They're not too pressured with things, and life is not very fast paced. So as a result of that, the good part about it is that they have very low stress levels and they don't have much high blood pressure. The bad part about that, though, is that they're not very good keepers of time. So that might be the very frustrating part for Mr. Smith, who comes from a place where timekeeping is very, very appreciated. Like I said earlier, family adjustment has different is very important. It has different stages to it. The honeymoon stage is when they first arrive and everything is exciting, everything is different, everybody is exploring, everything is new and exciting. There's a sense of adventure. Everybody will be excited. The wife, the kids, the expatriate himself will be very happy to be in that new place, and it will all be highs and excitement. But unfortunately, after some time, sometimes just a few days, sometimes it takes weeks, it just depends on people. Everybody is different. But after a while, cultural shock sets in. This is when the frustrations and the confusion set in. You begin to see everything negative. You begin to see everything that's lacking. You begin to see everything that irritates. You begin to see all the negative, even the weather, even little things just starts to get at you. And then they get to the stage of adjustment. They begin to understand the differences in the culture. They begin to see things as that they can work with them and start to feel a little more comfortable with how things are done. And then it gets to the mastery stage where they become able to function as if they're back home. At this point, they've mastered how things are done. They know their way around. They have reached a place in their minds and in their hearts where they can live in this place. And here I have a little graph that shows the different stages of their adjustments for the family. So the honeymoon part, so high and excitement and all that, and then the culture shock sets in, and then everybody is low and depressed and upset, and all the negative emotions set in. But once they start getting to the adjustment level, their highs start coming up until they get back to mastery, and that takes time. And it all depends on the people and their living circumstances and situations and how prepared they were. It does get better with time. And family consideration. This is the strongest predictor of how the wife handles the transition. If the spouse is happy and adjusting well, the assignment is likely to be successful. I did allude to that earlier. Otherwise, if there is no preparation or adjustment for the wife and for the spouse and children, then it doesn't go very well. The mission usually is not well accomplished. It is very important that the spouse and children are well prepared and comfortable in the new country. And here I put up a few facts about Zambia and the United States. Well, Zambia is much, much smaller. It has a population of 18 million, and the size of Zambia is 290,587 square miles. The main attraction there is the Victoria Falls. The main language is English, and the currency is kwacha, and the exchange rate is 10 kwachas are equal to $1. And in comparison to facts of the United States is 350 million people, and the square footage is 325,145,963 square miles. Statue of Liberty and many other attractions. English is also the main language, and dollars for currency. Thank you very much. You have a good day.